So the point of this video is just to log what happened between April 2021 to April the following year. So here's what happened. Let me set the background. I'm an immigration attorney and I have a law firm with something like 7 employees, and we're in the midst of COVID. One of my employees, who is very productive, probably one of the star employees at the firm in terms of productivity, has to move to Texas, and we are a San Francisco based law firm. And so I was very hesitant about I was somewhat hesitant about having an entirely remote worker. But that's kind of where the world was heading. So I decide and I say, okay, and I don't want to lose this very productive employee, so I say, okay. So she moves in April and we use different technology, obviously. We have a cloud-based server for all of our, nothing unusual, for our data, and everything is simple. You communicate over email, you use Office 365, you use 8x8 for making phone calls and things like that. And it worked out. She was one of the more productive employees of the firm still, working remotely for 6 months. The only burden we had was that some of the printing had to be done by the office admin locally. So obviously, I just realized here that my small size immigration law firm is able to at least supplement the staff with a remote worker, and it's possible. We can't have an entirely remote staff, but I realize that we can at least have one remote worker. So maybe even 2. So then what happened from there is I got to realize, because she left the job after about 6 months, I think that was like around November. Yeah, it was end of November, very end of November. I thought to myself, we should hire a remote person, but not an American, but someone outside the country at a lower cost. So then from there, I went ahead and I started to recruit outside the US. And so we had a lot of stuff going on at the firm in terms of hiring and whatnot. So I started this more seriously towards, I would say, January, February of the following year. And so I used LinkedIn. And all you can really do is just go on LinkedIn, search in regions of the world where you have to do your research, and you find places where the cost of living is low and people can speak English at a reasonable level of proficiency. And ideally, they also have some familiarity of US culture. So that's like, for example, if I were to go to Mongolia, right? Again, this is just a assumption at this point, but I don't think I would find a lot of people there who are very proficient in English, and the cost of living might be low. I could try, UK, but what's the point? I may as well hire someone in the US, because in the UK, yes, their proficiency in English is high, their familiarity with the US culture is it's very similar, it's high, and their cost of living is too much though. So I'm not going to save money by hiring someone remotely in the UK. So I discovered that there was a job market in Eastern Europe and the Balkans, which is like Southeast, and their cost of living is far lower than the US. The average household income is like $600, $700, $800 a month, versus the average household income in the US is a little over $4,000 a month. for the entire US. So, people get by on far less in that part of the world. So that was one place that I was targeting, and I was able to get a resume. You go on LinkedIn, you contact people, and I did some interviews, and one person in particular stood out. And so this was around February, and I offered that person the job. And the person took the job, and they were trained as well. And so quickly that person was able to figure out how to handle the types of cases that we do: H-1Bs, family sponsorships, bread and butter stuff that most immigration law firms that do both family and employment-based handle. And that's when I realized, because this person started around early mid-February, by around April, it took me some time to realize we're saving a lot of money. I have to offer that person more than market rate to keep them, but more than their local market rate. But that's far lower than the US market rate. So I'm saving, over the course of a year, you're cutting the salary in half practically of what you would pay a person in the US. And then I realized, it wasn't that easy to locate a qualified worker from this region. So I thought, I need to make a website. That just occurred to me, that there should be a website that also does what I do when I'm assessing people. Because legal assistant, you can get anyone to do it at an entry level where you train them. All that matters is, do they have a good proficiency of English? Can they type reasonably fast? Do they have good communication skills? So communication skills, keying in information speed, and English proficiency. So those are things that you test in an interview, and also you can put the person through some skills tests. So I realized, why not just create a website that has the skills tests, and that also shows you the wages that people will accept, and put them on a table. And I thought, that's an idea. I'm going to plug that idea into a website, and I had to contact some people that I knew, who knew people. Let's just leave it at that. And I was connected to an agency that develops websites professionally. I'm not in the position to create a startup where I'm going to hire people in industries that I don't know. So I just decided to go to a one-stop shop to have the website developed initially. And that's what happened in April. I inked the deal with that company, and it was initially going to be something close to $48,000. It turned out that the quote had to go up a little bit, but I'm not going to really go into detail on that. I'm just talking about what happened from April to April. And so that's basically, so far, chapter 1 in this story of how this idea came about and how we got started. And that's it. It's just purely informational, and we'll go on to the next video soon, where I'll chronicle the process from April until July, maybe August, which is where I am now. And then it'll chunk down to regular updates of ideas and things that I'm putting into place on a regular basis to make sure I stay on track and make sure that this has the best chance of making it.